Did you know that the height of a dining table and a dining chair are based on mid-century standards? And in this video, we are going to go through a design exercise to take a look at those furniture heights and to see if those standardized sizes are still applicable today. When we take a look at the history of furniture heights and the dining room table height and a chair height, which are based on mid-century anthropometric measurements, which just means measurements of humans, they are based on a 95th percentile of a taller average male of that time, who was 6 feet tall, 2 inches. And all of this information was used by many industries, including the furniture manufacturing industries, to create some standardizations of how high furniture should be so that it could be easily mass produced. So in this video, we're going to do an interior design exercise where we put on our furniture designer hats and look at the table height and the chair height of our dining room table and chair in our homes to kind of take a look at the heights that we have and if we have any recommendations on if those heights should be adjusted. So I am working with this worksheet that I created that you can follow along with me as we go along this interior design exercise. And if you want to, you can download this one-page printable sheet on my website. So I'll leave the link to this worksheet in this video's description. When we take a look at the first column in this worksheet, we will notice that we have some reference information for us to look at. And this is giving us some information about the standardized measurements for the heights of a standard dining room table, a dining chair, and the measurements of that taller average size male that was used from the mid-20th century. So we'll notice the standard height of a dining room table is around 30 inches or 76.2 centimeters. And this could vary a little bit, whether that would be a little lower or a little higher. Then we'll see that the standard height of a dining room table chair seat is around 18 inches or around 45.72 centimeters. And this can also vary just a bit. And then the other measurement that we're looking at is that gap between the seat and the underside of that table. And usually that's around 10 to 12 inches in distance from the underside of the table to the seat of the chair. And that's to provide plenty of leg room while someone sits at that chair at the table. And that first column is there as a reference to us. Then in the second column is where you can start to write down your findings about the measurements of your dining room table and chair in your home. What you can do is grab a tape measure and take some measurements. Find out what is the tabletop height of your dining room table. And this is just where you're measuring from your floor all the way to the tabletop of your dining table. Then find out the seat height of that dining chair that goes with that table. And once again, just measure from the floor to the highest point on your chair seat height. Then what you can do is also find out how large that gap is between the seat and the underside of the table. So measure from your chair seat to the underside of the table. So if you have this worksheet, take a moment to write down your measurements on your worksheet. And then as an extra step, sit down on your dining room chair and scoot under the table like you are going to have a meal. See how that feels to you. Do you have plenty of leg room in between the underside of your table and the chair seat? And then also, is it comfortable for you to easily sit there and enjoy a meal? So take any notes about that experience as well and place those on your worksheet if you'd like to. And then in column 3, this is where I want you to think of yourself as a furniture designer, and if you would make any recommendations to adjust the height of a dining room table and chair based on your findings and your measurements, but also based on how our population here in the United States is taller in general. In fact, according to the Centers for Disease Control in the United States, the taller average male is ranging from 6 feet 2 inches to 3 inches in height. So based on that information that our population is taller than it was in the mid 20th century, and based on your measurements of your furniture, would you make any recommendations to adjust the height? So put down your ideas on your worksheet, any recommendations that you would have around that. And if you want to share your worksheet with this interior design community, you are welcome to visit my YouTube's homepage. And if you're a subscriber and you've been a subscriber for over a week, you'll have a button enabled that is called Visit Community. And this is where you can select that button and then upload an image and share your recommendations there. And of course, you can also share your recommendations in the comments from this video. I'm really curious of what you found out and what your recommendations are. So I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time when we discover more neat things about interior design. Take care.